Hey friends, happy Wednesday the 12th of October. It's nice to take a moment and be with you. I'm Father Bill Hill, priest at Holy Spirit Catholic Community in Rock Springs, Wyoming. One parish announcement, then I'll tell you what we're doing, but if you'd keep an eye out for the United in God's Love mailing, this should be coming to many of our households this week. Take a moment, look at the color brochure if you would, pray about it. Just ask that question, is God calling us to intentionally commit to sharing a financial gift with God and with the church this year? And there's a commitment card in there, committing to each other and to God. And on the other side is some prayer intentions. All of these things will be available online a little bit later on this week. I'll make sure that I tell you about that. But just be paying attention to this. If you join us for Mass this coming Sunday, we will be engaging this as well. So, thanks for paying attention to that. Thanks for helping to make sure that we can continue to live the mission that Christ calls us to. Today we are working on the daily readings. We've got the end of the letter to the Galatians and Luke's Gospel. I will give you a reflection on the readings, and then I invite you, they're linked on the sidebar. After I'm done, read the readings prayerfully, then turn off the screen. Spend some time with God. That gift of silence is itself an incredible gift in my estimation. Okay. We have a fairly famous passage from Paul in where we have the works of the flesh and the fruits of the Spirit. One of the things that I would point out in relation to the works of the flesh, lots of times Christians can get really hung up on, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right? Sins of sex and sins of, substances. Those are there, right? We always want to make sure that we're not being slaves to those. But if you look at the list of the sins of the flesh that Paul talks about, there's plenty of standard, daily, run-of-the-mill ways that we abuse each other and do not honor the dignity and the respect of each other. The ways that we engage in factions, in envy, in rivalry, in gossip, in jealousy, all of those sorts of things that tear at the fabric of human relationships and diminish our life together. And then we have the fruits of the Spirit. Again, most of these are not about avoiding sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Most of these are about right relationship with other people, as well as, self-control and making sure that we're taking care of the gifts of sexuality and our brain that we've received, things like that. But it's about a lot of relationship and how we are with others. As you pray that, what is it that you need to pray into? What is it that jumps out at you that you maybe need to have a conversation with God about? And then, of course, behind this always is the Spirit, right? That same Spirit that animated Jesus, the same breath of Jesus Christ, that is offered to us. If only we would ask, right? God, send out your Spirit. Give me that same Spirit of Jesus Christ. And that's the one that we name the Holy Spirit. And maybe we spend a moment praying that it's not just on our strength or our abilities, but indeed God working through the Spirit in our lives. Okay. Gospel of Luke. A dispute again with Jesus, between Jesus and a Pharisee. And Jesus is arguing about two things with this Pharisee. One is about tithing, and then one is about the way that they receive honor and public praise. Notice that as Jesus is arguing with them about tithing on spices, right, which is not technically required by the law of Moses, and so they're going above and beyond. They're going the extra mile. Jesus doesn't say, stop tithing spices, but instead he says, but you're neglecting, right relationship and judgment and the love of God. You need to do both of these things. And then the argument about seats of honor in the marketplace. Remember what I said yesterday. Lots of times in Christian circles, we use the term Pharisee as an insult or, oh, that's a Pharisaical argument or whatever. Jesus himself was really close to the Pharisee party, and some argue that perhaps he was a Pharisee. Most of the early followers of Jesus came from the group of Pharisees. Obviously, not all of them. He's arguing here about that internal conversion, right? Love of God and judgment and the gifts that God has given. That it's not just external stuff, but that it's also about being made new. Now, I share this every time I encounter it because it makes me laugh. But Jesus is there and he is totally slagging on the Pharisees. And then this lawyer is like, whoa, Jesus. Clearly, you don't understand the implications of your argument. But you see, when you criticize the Pharisees like that, you're also criticizing us. So maybe you want to tone it down a notch. And Jesus has none of it, right? He's like, oh, okay, woe to you, scholars of the law, right? You make things way too heavy and it's way too hard, and you need to use the gift of legal knowledge to be of service to those who are attempting to follow the law. That's what Jesus is inviting them to. Again, that internal conversion to help people to walk with the Lord. Maybe as we hear Jesus going after religious observance without internal conversion, there might be something there that God's inviting us to pray into that pricks our conscience as well. All right, and to Galatians. Tomorrow we've got Ephesians and then Luke's Gospel. Read those readings prayerfully, then turn off the screen, spend some time with God. Be looking for that United in God's Love mailing if you would please, friends. All right, God bless. Happy day.